What's up, YouTube? So, in this video, I'm going to be talking about my pet cats for the 2021 NFL draft class. I have a total of 6 of them. And just to kind of explain this, these aren't always necessarily going to be who I think is the best at their particular positions, although that is the case with one of them. They're just my favorites. And some of them I think aren't being talked about as much as they should be too. So yeah, this is also in no particular order. It's not like the first one I talk about is better or worse than the others. I'm just going to talk about them however it comes to me. So anyway, the first one I want to talk about is Dwayne Eskridge, wide receiver out of Western Michigan. Like most people who know of him, I first found out about him through the Senior Bowl practices, and he absolutely lit it up there with his route running, his explosiveness, his quickness, his speed. He just was one of the people that really benefited from the Senior Bowl the most. He just exploded off the screen every time he got an opportunity. And I have videos covering the Senior Bowl, and every time someone made a play that impressed me that I wanted to go back to on my own time, I left a little check mark next to his name. I left a check mark after every single play I seen from him. So that's where I first got my interest in him. And then when I went and watched the film, and I seen the speed that this guy had, I seen the precise route running, the way he sinks his hips, he's just fantastic. Again, he's not one of those top tier receivers. He's not as good as the two Bama boys. He's not better than Jamar Chase. He's not better than Bateman. If you go and watch my wide receiver list, you'll know where I rank everybody. But he is my favorite receiver in this class. I just had a lot of fun watching him. So, number 2 is Tevin Jenkins, tackle out of Oklahoma State. I think this guy is criminally underrated. I think he is just below Penei Sewell and Rashawn Slater. I think right after those two, Tevin Jenkins is the next best tackle in this class. I know a lot of people bring up like Christian Darrisaw or Liam Eichenberg, however you pronounce it, from Notre Dame, or really anybody else, Dylan Radunes, whoever people are talking about as their number 3 tackle. Elijah Vera Tucker is another one you hear, but I think that Tevin Jenkins is better than all those dudes. I think he's got better technique. I think he's stronger. Actually, let me say this. Liam Eichenberg might have slightly better technique than Tevin Jenkins. He's just not as physically impressive. That might be a debate, but even then, I think Tevin even beats him there. But where I really fell in love with this guy is he plays angry as shit. You'll notice that is a trend with these lists, with my pet cats. I love angry-ass players. Not like quarterback or something like that, 'cause that's how you get turnovers and stuff. But at offensive line, I love it. And honestly, if it wasn't for the injuries, Landon Dickerson would have been on this list too for the same reason. For example, Christian Darrisaw is one of the guys that people are putting above Tevin Jenkins, and I think Darrisaw is very, very talented, but he has a problem with laziness. If he doesn't have to finish you, he won't. Like, if he can get away with passing you off so he can just stop blocking for the last bit of the play, he'll do that. Tevin Jenkins actively looks for people to hit if nobody comes through his gap. I'm a big fan of him. Big fan of him. So my number 3 guy is another one I think that not enough people are talking about, and that's Peyton Turner out of Houston. Edge. A lot of people are really hyping up Greg Rousseau, and I don't really understand it. I haven't understood it throughout this entire process. I have to go into double digits to find an edge rusher worse than him in this class. Rousseau, not Turner. And when people talk about what Rousseau brings to the table, they talk about his length, they talk about his quickness, they talk about his strength. The only one of those things that are true is that he has some strength and he does have he does have length. But he doesn't have the speed that people talk about. They don't say he doesn't have the quickness that people talk about. He doesn't have the technique that people talk about. Peyton Turner is the definition of what people say is so good about Russo. Because every time you hear someone talk about Russo, it's like what he can be. He's got the strength. He's got this length. So we're projecting what he can be. But what you're saying he can be eventually, that is what Peyton Turner is right now. That's what he is right now. So I'm a big fan of Peyton Turner, and he's another guy that plays angry as hell. Again, go and check out my edge rusher list to see where I put him. All these guys are in one of my position rankings somewhere, and I've done individual videos on all these guys too. So go ahead and check that out if you want more information on any of them. My number 4 player is Marvin Wilson, defensive tackle at FSU. Now, I know a lot of people, he fell down a lot of people's boards because his 2020 season wasn't that great. But you have to take it within context of, one, him being injured. So he probably shouldn't have played. He had a short off season, a limited off season, as did everybody. He had a coaching change. He had like everything. And hang on. Sorry about that. My cat was driving me nuts. But yeah. So Marvin Wilson, like I said, he fell down a lot of people's boards because of that 2020 season, but I think you have to take it all in context. If you look at what he did in 2018 and 2019, that man is elite. And if you can get the player before the injury, he is by far the best defensive tackle on this list, in this entire draft. Not only is he technically superior to these guys, he to me is more of a one tech, but he can play some 3. I don't want to see him at 0 much. He can do that, but it's not where I want him, just because I think he can do a little bit more. And again, like I talked about with a lot of these guys, he plays angry as shit. That man is an absolute wrecking ball. He can probably do some 2-gap things for you too, but I just don't prefer it. I think let him play 1 tech with a little bit of 3. And I think if you do that, I think he can be an amazing player for you. I love Marvin Wilson. So my next 2 are on this list for similar reasons. I'll talk about the safety first. It's a safety and a corner. I'll talk about the safety first. Ardarius Washington out of TCU. So Trevon Moehrig is one of the safeties that's being touted as like the best safety in this class, which is crazy to me. He's my free safety number 3 and my overall safety number 4. Trevon Moehrig. Ardarius Washington is my safety 2 regardless. So the thing with Ardarius and why he's being, marked down so much is that he is kind of small. That is the biggest complaint about him, is that he is small. But he has really, really solid range. He has solid ball skills. His instincts are crazy. And despite his size, he comes down and smacks the shit out of people. He was my safety 1 for a long time. And even now, him and Richie Grant are kind of close to me. The only reason I have Richie Grant above him is just because he takes that range to another level. But I've talked about that, why I have them in my rankings where I do. But I'm just a huge fan of Ardarius Washington, and the fact that people are talking about him in day 3 is insane to me. If he's there in the 4th round, well, the Dolphins don't really have a 4th round pick, but someone's going to get a steal because people overthink this shit. Because he is a fantastic player. He really, really is. But anyway, so my 6th guy is Elijah Molden, cornerback out of Washington. So he's more of a nickel, and that's because he's small, but he almost plays nickel like a strong safety who can cover. Meaning that you can also put him in the box and let him just go smack somebody. Washington also let him do like deep half stuff, which I think he can definitely do too. The only thing is that he is pretty small for that, at least for the next level. But he is solid in coverage. He's angry as hell. He's physical as hell. And I think that if you let him play nickel corner for a year or two until he can get bigger to eventually play strong safety, I think he can be an amazing strong safety in this league. I really, really do. But, yeah. Anyway, I think that's going to be it for this video. If you liked it, appreciate hitting that like button. If you have any questions or comments, leave in the comments down below. Subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you next time. Bye, guys.